Hello, hello. From Denver, Colorado. I'm Karen Gibbs, and we're going to talk today about the love of batiks, of course. But let's talk a little bit about chops, and that's how it's pronounced. I spell it TJAP. That's one way to spell it. You can spell it like cap, CAP. But the C is actually a CH sound. In Japanese. So anyway, chop is what is used to apply the wax to the fabric for a batik. Now, what's it made of? A chop is made out of copper. By the way, I had questions. Usually on Thursday we ask you to post some questions and that kind of thing, so I know what to talk about because I can talk all day and go off on a tangent about anything to do with batiks. So I just wanted to know what you guys were interested in. So I'm going to try and answer all the questions that came in earlier today. All right. Chops are made out of copper and wood. You can see this one right here still has the handle on it. But anyway, it's on a frame, and each little piece of copper is molded to go with the design that I've sketched or that a designer has put together. We have guest designers too. Basically, the size or the scale of the chop, the size of it, is supposed to be within an 8 inch or a 20 centimeter size, and usually they're square. The pan of wax is a certain size, so you need to be able to dip the chop into that size. So it has to be within that certain scale. Um, hey Scott, Pat, and Christine, hi y'all. Thanks for joining me today. So anyway, the usually it's square, and why would it be usually square? It's easier to line up, right? It's easier to line up the corners. On the corners of the chops are like little pins, so they can line it up each time they apply it. And I think we put together a video of me in Indonesia when I was learning how to apply a chop properly. Hi, Paul. Thanks for joining today. So I'm learning to apply it properly. And these guys, they've done it for years and years and years, and they're quite expert at it. I found it difficult. I found it very difficult to line up that chop and keep it nice and even. Hi, Janet. Thanks for joining me today. Um, so so the chop square is easier, obviously, right? It's easier to line up and keep it square and keep it straight of grain. Um, but when you're a quilter and you are obsessed with 60-degree triangles, you come up with a chop like this, right? You can see this. Hey, Carolyn, thanks for joining me today. This is from the Darling Lace collection, and I love 60-degree triangles. But notice it's smaller than a normal chop, all right? So the way they had to apply it to get this design, okay, let's see this design, was they had to do it, in almost a hexagon kind of fashion, which slows down the process in production. So instead of leaving it like this is the first one they did. Instead of leaving it like this, they made the three together. So then it was more of a straight line. And then they were able to apply it faster. Okay. Hi, Barb. Thanks for joining today. So this chop, yes, while it's a triangle and the repeat of it is the triangle, the 60-degree triangle, um, they made it so it was easier for them to apply. Now, why would we? It's production, if you think about it, right? We are hand doing this. We want to apply it in a certain fashion so that we can keep everything affordable and apply the wax faster to the fabric. A chop, one chop. I had a question, how much can they use the one chop, right? All right, so we have a chop made, and each chop takes about 20 days to make. So if it takes 20 days to make, and then they're using that chop, maybe I have 5 colorways, 5 different color schemes of the same design. Only one person can be using it at that time, right? Wow, we have lots today. Hi, Gail, Laura, Cindy, thank you for joining. All right, so only one person can use it. It's one chop. All right. So if we have a lot of orders for, say, this particular one from Darlene Lace, the factory will generally make a second chop. All right. It is used over and over and over. It's made out of copper. It's very sturdy. They do check it in quality control and make sure that it's not bent or something like that. So you can see here in the corner of that one, okay, kind of how it was bent. It got bent in my suitcase on the way home. But anyway, so they take very careful care of the chop. It's like I said, it's dipped in hot wax and it's applied. They can make tons of yardage with one particular chop. But if we're worried about production time, so we've taken orders on the fabric, on the designs, with our headers, with our salesman samples, and we've given the order to the factory, we need to make sure that the factory can produce it in time. So sometimes if there's a little bit more or something like that, or maybe one of our essentials like Katan, there is 5 chops for Katan, okay? Because we need to have more than one artisan working on the fabric at one time, okay? So I'm trying to answer some of the questions in regards to chops. Keep them coming if you have questions, because you know if you've posted questions or you posted a hello or anything, your name gets entered into a drawing, and we will send out fat quarter bundles to somebody who won, okay? We'll do a drawing at the end. All right, so let's go back a little bit and talk about chops in a different way. Let's talk about what if I wanted the negative space of a design to be the chop. And that was in our Winter Light collection. Remember the Christmas tree? I showed it, the video of it previously. Where is the chop for this? The chop is actually where the white part is. Okay, I'm going the wrong way with my hand. It's backwards. Okay, so it's where the white part is. The green part is not the chop. That's a negative space. So the motif is applied first. Remember, the motif color is applied first. The chop is put in the wax and then holds the motif. So I wanted the background to be very light. And then I made the background, for this one, the chop, or the negative space on it is the chop. So you can see the Christmas tree is actually the background. Kind of different, right? So you got to think backwards on that particular one. But that then makes the chop really heavy because it's all of that copper in there filling in the background. All right. We also had some negative space to give kind of bursts, thinking of like a winter sky kind of thing in this. But this is from the Winter Light collection, and that's been in stores for a little bit now. Okay. Another chop that I kind of did that with, where it's a reverse, is from the Rough Sketch collection, and that is in stores right now. Okay, this right here, the negative space right over here, the negative space is actually where the copper is. All right, so that's kind of backwards from something like this in the same collection, where the chop is the actual design. All right. So when you draw it, what you're doing is you're doing a pen and ink sketch or a black and white sketch. The black is where the wax is going to hold. Generally, it's going to be the contrast of color that's going to give you that. But you have to think of maybe that's the light part. So in your head, you got to think of, okay, maybe that's reversed. All right. Another one that we showed was an antique chop that I had found, and it's this one. This is a sneak peek, okay? It's the bandana collection. It's coming in April. So if you like it, you got to get to your stores and tell them to make sure they place their order for the bandana collection, okay? There's a whole bunch of cool stuff in this one, see? But these are all chops. This one right here is the antique chop I found, and we modified it and we straightened it out, and we are able to reuse it. Okay, and so it kind of has a kind of a look of a bandana, doesn't it? Okay, but there's some other interesting, like I said, chop designs in here. So when you're thinking about it, you got to think, okay, I got to think about repeat too. All right, when you're doing the chop, you don't, sometimes you want it to look like a block, like a panel. That's, if you're going to fussy cut it like that Christmas tree, that'd be kind of cool in like a fussy cut pillow or big block kind of quilt or your focus fabric. But a lot of times you want an all over kind of look and you don't want to be able to see where the repeat is. So you want to make sure that when you're designing it, like with modern geometry, I think we showed that. Okay, a couple of things on this one. See right here, this one right here is a double chop application. And you can't tell where I repeated it. That's what's fun. That's kind of interesting for me. I like to make sure that I can design something that you don't necessarily see where the repeat is, and it's hand done. So lining those chops up is really, really important. But this one has a double chop. And what's a double chop mean? It means that we're going to apply that. We're going to go through that whole situation of applying color, then dipping the chop into wax, and applying the wax to hold the color, then bleaching it out, and then doing it again with a different chop. A lot of times when you see double chops, it's the same chop on top of itself, except for maybe different colors. This one, Modern Geometry, has a floral in it, but it also has kind of a texture of a paintbrush. Okay. And this one, here's another one from Modern Geometry. Isn't that really cool? Okay. Not getting into color today. We're just talking about the chop, but trying to make sure that the repeat of these squares has a random kind of effect to it, right? A random look. Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about chops, and I want to show you with the new classics. We have Banyan classics, and they're an essential. And then the new classics they're coming out. I want to say January, okay? And they're going to be in stores, but really cool pastel multicolors. But look at this, so you can see this is a spread out floral, right? I don't know if you can see the there. You can see the spread out floral. So there's more negative space. Now, if I'm doing a quilt, I would probably want to use something like that for bigger blocks or border, right? And then I'd want something like the dots right here to contrast it. It's a smaller print. And the chop then is more dense with its copper. So the wax is applied a little more dense, okay? And I would use that as a background for a block, all right? And you can't see the repeat on that, can you? Pretty cool, right? Okay. So the Banyan Classics, this one right here, this colorway is actually going to be in a quilt, in American Quilter coming soon. So keep an eye out for that, okay? But anyway, this shows you the difference of your chop design. Now, what do you have to think about when you're doing the design? Because remember, it's a chop inserted in wax and applied to the fabric to hold the color. Well, I have to think about the size of the line. Like I can't do a 1 point drawing or sketch. I can't do a really fine line because it has to go through all of that scrunching, has to go through the bleaching, all of that, and the wax will flake off. I want to make sure that my design holds. Okay, so I want to do 2 or 3 point line. I also have to make sure that the negative space between it, and you know what, you can kind of see it here. The negative space between it is also a 2 or 3 point. So it can't be just the design that has to be a 2 or 3 point. Here's a really cool cream. Look at that one. Okay. But the negative space also has to have that spacing in it. Because remember, the wax that's applied is liquid, so it's going to pool a little bit. It's going to be bigger than the 1 point or 2 point drawing that you've done. It's going to probably pool, especially if you have like a large amount of wax in it. I'm looking for a piece right here. Let me see. How about in cranberry chutney? Cranberry chutney is designed by Kenneth Ogg, Madison Cottage Designs. We invite guest designers to join us and experience designing batiks. It's a lot of fun. But check out her patterns. I think you've seen a lot of them in stores. But see right here, that's applied. A lot more wax is applied in the center, okay? And it pools. It's a liquid, so it pools. And whereas this is a line drawing. So you got to think about that when you're making the chop, because in the chop, you want to make sure you have the line drawings in there, but you also want to have the space that holds the wax more so you get more of the motif, right? If you look back to the classics again, this particular one, the floral, is more of a line drawing, all right? And then the dots, I put more The dot isn't just a pinpoint dot, right? It's more of a dense dot. So then my motifs coming through a little bit more. You see, if you back it up, you see more motif color in the dot, and then less motif and more background. Okay, so when you're designing the chaps, you got to start to think about how you're going to use the fabric in a quilt, the end product, right? How we want to play with it. So that's kind of a little bit about chaps today. I tried not to get into color because we always think about color with batiks, right? That's the first thing we think about is a color that we can create our projects with batiks. But the chops are just so incredible, and the amount of work that goes into the chop, but also the amount of work of using the chop and making sure it's accurate and it's perfectly applied. A lot of the artisans, they've been in this. This is their family business, and they've been in it for a long time. And then a lot of the factories also will bring people in and train them, okay, and train them either how to make the chops or how to use them. Tukan chop is the name of the person using the chop, okay? So if you have any questions for me, we do have a question. Do they ever retire patterns? Yes, actually, they do retire patterns. We have a thing with Banyan that we have a one and done. Okay. So we'll do a collection like Kenna's collection. It's all of her designs. All right. All of her chop designs are just in her collection. Cranberry Chutney is the name of her collection. So they're just in her collection. No, it's not going to be used in another collection. All right. You can see there's 3 different colorways, but it's only in her collection. I don't take the chops from one collection and move them to another collection. They're one and done. So I make sure that we have enough colorways within that collection to get the use out of the chop, the effective use out of it. For the factory, but we do retire it after that. I do allow the factories to use my designs for the local market. They do tourism and they do a lot of hospitality kind of stuff. So some of my stuff can be used absolutely for that. And then we can reuse the copper and that kind of stuff if we choose to break it down. But yes, we do retire them, and they are mine. They're my designs, and they're Banyan Batik's designs. They don't cross over to another manufacturer. They don't cross over to anyone else unless I give them permission. But they are one and done. That's what I like. If I'm designing a bike for the Ride On collection, I don't want stores to think, oh yeah, she stuck it in modern geometry for some reason. But if I like a collection a lot, like I like Ride On, we did it twice. So we brought it back because it was very, very popular. Okay. Any other questions today? How much does a chop weigh? I don't know. Let's see. Like a jug of milk, I'd say. Maybe a jug of milk. It weighs a lot. It's this one obviously is little, and this one's a little bit bigger. This one has a little bit more of the copper on it. So think about that all day long, working on that and lining it up. It takes a lot of strength. Okay. Any other questions today? Okay. That's all I got today. And that's a discussion on chops. So make sure you join me next week. We'll do a drawing from all of the people who have asked questions or commented. I really appreciate you joining me. Thanks.